Turning now to the growing battle over the future of abortion rights in this country. As a number of states take steps to ban abortion, some doctors are concerned fertility treatments like IVF could be the next target. They question if a patient's frozen embryos could be defined as unborn children, and if so, what happens if those embryos are discarded. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hylton joins us now from a Boston IVF clinic in Massachusetts with the latest. Antonia, good morning to you. So right now, is this decision affecting patients who are currently undergoing IVF treatments at all?
Good morning, Joe. Well, it's certainly affecting their thinking. As of right now, there are no laws that directly impact IVF that are going to stop patients from going to their appointments and moving forward with this process. But because new laws are likely going to be introduced by anti-abortion activists or lawmakers in the coming days and months, the patients and providers that I've spoken to say that they're nervous that the legal landscape is going to change. In particular, that there could be personhood laws that define the meeting of sperm and egg, an embryo, as a life. That directly implicates the work that doctors do in labs like the one behind me here, where they not only create, they at times destroy or test these materials. So the patients that I've talked to say that they are moving up their timelines. Some of the women who have already created embryos are planning to use them. In other words, get pregnant sooner than they were originally planning to. Take a listen to a conversation that I had with a woman named Samira Valdez, and she lives in Florida.
Sometimes it takes multiple egg retrievals, multiple embryo transfers, and it's emotionally draining. So if you can imagine now all this coming to play for so many families, we're stressed and we're nervous now. It's very overwhelming. My husband and I were kind of going to wait maybe like 2 or 3 years after my daughter, just to kind of give us time with the one child. But this is definitely making me want to move faster and try to make a decision sooner than later.
Samira, as she described right there, is planning to have her next child now 2 to 3 years earlier than she had initially planned. And not only does that change their family, but that is a significant cost. These procedures cost thousands of dollars. Often insurance programs do not cover it. And so families in this situation are now thinking about, the makeup of their family, but also their budgets. The clinic behind me here, Boston IVF, says that they have been receiving over 50 calls a day from patients who live in red states who are interested in transferring their tissues from those states here to Massachusetts, a blue state where they think that they might be a little bit safer, Joe.
It's not just patients, Antonia. Are some doctors concerned that their work could soon become criminalized? I mean, what did you learn from some of the doctors you spoke with?
That's right. In the event that either a vaguely written bill or someone directly passes a personhood law to define an embryo as a living being, in the event that that moves forward in any state, that would directly criminalize the work that they do here in clinics like this one. And in the state of Oklahoma, where already they have an abortion law that is quite similar to what we saw in Texas, where an individual can sue anyone who they believe has been involved in an abortion. It opens the window for any prosecutor or person who believes that what they think goes on in a clinic like this one amounts to an abortion. They create multiple embryos at a time. They sometimes remove them. Families sometimes ask to destroy them. And so the question is that life? Is that an abortion? And they're nervous that no matter what lawmakers, assure them may be the case, that it would just take one prosecutor or person or a group of lawmakers to see it differently to change the legal landscape. Take a listen to a conversation I had with a doctor, Dr. Reshef in Oklahoma. He works at his own fertility site, and he's preparing for the possibility of lawsuits.
New law in Oklahoma opens the door for lay people to sue anybody that they feel is engaged in abortion. So the annoyance factor from being sued, of course, clearly interferes with my work and my patient's right to reproduce. People that either deliberately or unintentionally, by not knowing the law and not knowing the definitions, will sue us because they perceive that we're committing abortions. I think that's a travesty, all right.
Doctors are already meeting with their lawyers to determine what kinds of new programs, tissue transfers they might do. Is this going to cost them money, or are they going to charge the patients out of pocket for all of this? So they are scrambling to try to secure their industry, essentially, over the next couple weeks and months, Joe.
Clearly a lot of questions on a lot of minds right now. Antonia Hylton in Massachusetts, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.